I have been using Strymon products live, playing at church, playing in bands, recording in the studio for over 10 years now. So it's safe to say that I am a huge fan of Strymon. I'm a user of their products. And Strymon pedals can be seen from small boards to big boards. I mean, you look around through the praise and worship world and you see the Strymon bridge, the Strymon trifecta of the TimeLine, the BigSky, and the Mobius across a ton of players' boards. I can honestly say I haven't played any Strymon pedals that I haven't really loved. They just work, they're really easy to use. But today, Strymon, we need to talk. What's up everyone? Welcome back to Sunday Tone. If you enjoy this video and you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing, but let's get into it. So the Strymon TimeLine was released over 12 years ago, and today many of us are still using it. It has become sort of a modern classic, a delay pedal that can do almost anything. But today I want to talk about version 2. So I asked you all over on Instagram and here on YouTube what you would all want to see in a version 2 of the TimeLine, the BigSky, or the Mobius. And so I've gathered that feedback, and today I want to talk about what you guys have said. I want to talk about thoughts that I have. And Strymon, these are some of the things that we would want to see in a version 2 of those pedals. So one thing that I would love to see, and it sounds like this is something that a couple other people shared with me as well, would be to have multiple algorithms, whether you're in the TimeLine and you want a preset that has two different algorithms, two different delays stacked together, or if you're in the Mobius and you want to have two different modulation things kind of stacked together, and then being able to be flexible with what is the routing of those two, maybe having a mode where you can turn one on and off from the other. I think things like that, just being able to stack some of these amazing sounds that these pedals have in them together. And I know that that might take up more DSP, it might take more power that the pedal would need to have, but I think that feature is worth enough to some people that they would pay more for it. So another thing that I think would be great is if the screen could be upgraded. If you look at the layout of these three pedals, you have kind of the mode, the type dial that is below the screen. I feel like that kind of takes up a lot of space, so maybe they could move it somewhere else to the right and then allow the screen to be larger and to display more information. If you look at pedals like the HX Stomp or the Maris LVX, they have these larger screens where you can, in some cases, kind of see what the parameters on the current preset are set to. I know one thing that is kind of hard sometimes is to look down, and if you've switched presets, your knobs might be set to one setting, and you're kind of wondering, where are my knobs set? So I think being able to have a larger screen that can maybe display some of that information all at once would be really nice. So if we talk about the layout of the TimeLine, the BigSky, and the Mobius, you have these three foot switches across the front. I talked to a few people that said maybe the footprint could be smaller and things could be put into a smaller package, but I think even to me, more importantly, I think the size is okay, but I think it'd be cool if the foot switches, maybe we could add a fourth one in there to give you more functionality. Would be cool if we could set up custom ramping. So maybe being able to do things like selecting a foot switch and saying, when I double tap this foot switch, I want it to do this. Or when I hold it down, I want it to ramp up this knob or ramp down this knob. I think being able to customize that stuff further would be really cool. Another upgrade that I think these three pedals really need is USB. I've had the TimeLine for a really long time, and the first time I tried to update it or download any patches to it, you kind of had to get a USB to MIDI type interface and hook that up. And not everyone has that, but everyone does have a USB cable. Everyone has hundreds of those sitting around. I think if this had USB in a way to more easily interface with your computer, that would be awesome. So kind of when talking about connectivity, I think some people might not like this. and don't want to go this route. But I think it would be cool too to have Bluetooth enabled, where you could have an app on your phone and kind of move around the presets, quickly set up presets in a different way on the pedal, whether you're on the road or you're on a Sunday morning at church and you just want to kind of flip some stuff around really quickly. Obviously, creating an app on the phone, creating that connectivity isn't a small feat, isn't a small task, but I think in the long run, that would be a really nice thing to have. So another idea that came up when I was having discussions with a couple of different people on Instagram was, what if Strymon had a new pedal that came out that kind of combined the TimeLine, the BigSky, and the Mobius into one kind of multi-effect from Strymon? I mean, even if it costed $800, $900, just like the H90 does, being able to have blocks and kind of combine algorithms from these pedals, I think would be really cool. And even if Strymon was able to build in some of the amp modeling from the Iridium or do something different there, I don't know how this all works out, like with, you know, a business plan and marketing and product management of the different pedals that they have in their line. But having an HX Stomp type pedal from Strymon, I think would be amazing, and being able to do so many things with that. Especially since you see so many players using these three pedals, and you gotta think the cost of those three together is pretty high. I think it would make sense to have those three kind of together in one pedal. So it has been a long time since the TimeLine has come out, and there's been tons of delay pedals in that time that have been released that do a bunch of unique and cool things. So now in 2023, it would be amazing to see what would Strymon do with adding new algorithms to something like the TimeLine. It would be really cool to see Strymon do some more ambient, granular delay, micro looping delay type of patches within the TimeLine. You have things like the Mood and the Walrus Fable and things like the Microcosm that do all of these really cool things, and I think it would be amazing to see Strymon's take on those types of sounds. So ultimately, I don't know what Strymon is doing. I don't know if they have plans to release a version 2 of these pedals, but I'm hopeful, seeing that Strymon has released V2s of some of these other pedals, that they will now be working on version 2 of these three big box pedals. So what are your thoughts? What do you want to see in a version 2 of these pedals? Go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know. So do me a favor and head over to Instagram and follow Sunday Tone on Instagram. That's a great place to connect with you guys one-on-one, to talk about gear, to talk about church, to talk about worship, and I would love to connect with you on Instagram. So thanks for checking out this video. I will see you all in the next one.